here we go. Some ridiculous news. It says, the long story down there is that minimum wage is going to be increasing to 17.48 in January, which I don't know what it currently is. I think it's like 16.38 or something like that. So basically, if that's the case, it's going up $1.10 in January. And this idiot thinks that's going to solve the affordability problem in this state. What I don't understand is, how do you become governor of a state and you're this dumb? You're this illiterate of economics and such. Raising minimum wage isn't the solution. What the solution is reduce taxes. The state tax used to be 6%. Now it's 6.35. Put it back to 6. Make it lower even. Go to 5. What Massachusetts used to be. Put it to 5. Why does it have to be 6.35? Get rid of property tax. I mean, if somebody owns their home, it should just be theirs. They shouldn't have to worry about potentially losing their home because they couldn't pay the property tax. That's absolutely ridiculous. Maybe reduce the gas tax. What else? There's so many other options that make a lot more sense if you want to help people out. A big one that shows that you're just a fraud is, federally, there's no tax on tips and overtime, but Connecticut doesn't follow that. So here's this dickbag pretending he cares about Connecticut residents and their affordability. Oh, I'm going to increase minimum wage because nobody should be living in poverty. Yeah, a great program that Trump put into place, which is, the no tax and tips and overtime, this douche doesn't want to implement because, then that's going to take money away from us. Or what you could do is try to budget. The state should be able to budget just like the rest of us citizens have to do when we're taxed to all hell, and the little bit of money we have left, we have to figure out how to stretch it. Why can't the state do that? I don't know, just a few simple ideas. Another thing is maybe we should be pushing for manufacturing jobs to come into the state. No, manufacturing doesn't want to come here, and manufacturing is leaving because of this moron and all the terrible stuff that he does. His taxes, his startup businesses. Starting a business in the state is so difficult with all the fees and everything associated with that. But if we got good manufacturing companies in here, that would make a lot of jobs. You'd have people that have to drive the trucks to ship stuff out. You'd have a lot of positions in each manufacturing, operators, managers, upper management, sales, etc. And a lot of these positions too, you could make a good amount of money in without even needing a college degree. Plant manager, let's say, even like a shift foreman or something, or a department foreman, you'd make a little bit more money. And I wouldn't think you need to have a degree for that. Sales. I don't think sales requires degrees anywhere I've been. The salespeople are just guys who are just good at talking. That's what you need to focus on, not minimum wage going up. Here's the problem with minimum wage being increased. First off, for the most part, a very, very vast majority of jobs that pay minimum wage because they're extremely low-skilled work, and they are basically more or less like a starter job. Like let's take McDonald's, for example. Sure, you might have to run around and it's hectic and stuff at times, but what you're doing is not that difficult at the end of the day. Anybody could come in, learn the job within a day or so, and now they're on par with the rest of you. There's no skill, so you can't demand more money because you're easily replaceable. If you start becoming a problem for the company and you want to make, X amount of money, but you're not making that, management can just fire you. They don't care. They'll find someone else tomorrow who'll take the job and do it for minimum wage happily. So that's why these places pay a little bit. And it's also like high schoolers, they start working and they get a little bit of experience in the field and all this, in the workforce field. Like, do we really need to be paying high schoolers $17.48 an hour? When I started working, I made $7.65 an hour, and when I was in high school, and I thought that was a lot. My pay after, I only worked the weekends, and my pay after taxes and everything was about $70. But as a high school kid who had no responsibilities, no bills or nothing, $70 a week was awesome. Kids now are going to be making like $20 an hour. They're going to be making take-home pay of like $300 a week. What do the kids need that much money for? That's stupid. But what's going to happen is they're not going to even get these opportunities anymore because the company's going to look at it as how much money they have to pay for the labor, and they're going to be like, well, do I want to spend it on a kid or do I want to spend it on an adult who might last? This kid possibly is only working here for now, and then when they graduate high school, they're going to go somewhere else, or maybe they're going to go to college and go somewhere else. Where with this adult, this is all they have. So they're going to hire that adult, which means now the kids are missing out on their opportunities to get a starter job. I mean, for me, when I started working, I didn't waste my money. I saved everything I made, and it helped me get my first car. in cash. I paid my insurance myself. I was never on my parents' insurance. I got my own phone, never on my family's plan. Everything's always been me. And having that job helped. You know, those $70 a week that I was able to save every single week for a couple of years before I was ready to get a car and all that helped. So now other kids out there that might be like me that would have that goal, maybe they can't find a job now because of this ridiculous super high pay rate. And also, all it does is it's going to cause a local inflation. I've said this before too in some other videos I made, and people, had to have their stupid comments. Oh, well, California already does this and everything's roughly the same price. That's not the point. The point is this. If you're paying more for your wages, places like McDonald's that are a franchise, they're not going to look to lose money. The owner's making $1 million a year isn't going to want to be like, well, I guess I can take 970. He's not going to take a cut. If he was making $1 million, he wants to maintain that $1 million, if not even a little more. So now prices have to go up because of this stupid crap. Or the labor force gets drastically cut, which means you're increasing the rate for minimum wage workers, but now less people are working because they got laid off because the place doesn't want to pay this much for their wages. And then at the same time, because the restaurant has less people working, your service sucks now. Everything's slower because it's it's less people being tasked to do more. And so it's less people to take your order. It's less people to make your food in the back. It's less people cooking. Maybe the person that's making sandwiches and stuff also has to cook for themselves because they don't have the extra person. Maybe the person that's doing drive-through, there's no back booth in the presenting window. It's all there. The person's taking the order, taking the money, and giving you your food. So things are really slowing down. But because this dickbag thinks, oh, we should be paying super high minimum wage because that makes sense. That'll make things better. No, it doesn't. And then, look, McDonald's, they're already super expensive to begin with. Now what's going to happen? Double cheeseburgers go to $5 for that worthless burger that's like an hors d'oeuvre, basically. It's going to be $5 now. But hey, at least we're making $17.50 an hour. Yeah, right? It's going to have other trickle-down effects, too. It's going to be like landlords, some of them. Yeah, maybe like a private person wouldn't care and increase rent. But anything that's more, corporatized of a landlord, a place that has like tons of apartments in a big building that maybe used to be an old manufacturing plant or something, they're probably going to increase rent because they know, hey, minimum wage is higher, so maybe I can also increase my prices, and that's my justification. So now your rent goes up $100 a week because this idiot wanted to increase minimum wage. I know it's not a true correlation, but people are scumbags. They don't care, and they might do that. Hey, minimum wage went up, so I'm going to increase rents. And everything else is going to go up. It's such a dumb idea. And the problem, too, is this only focuses on minimum wage workers. What about everybody else in the state? What about everybody that's not on minimum wage? People who actually put effort into their lives and got a good job, or good jobs. Like in my case, I have 2 pretty good jobs. If you put the amount of money that I make together, I make like $80 an hour combined between my 2 jobs. I put the effort in to do that, though. I'm not just working at McDonald's like, someday I might be able to make it. No, my vision was always, okay, I want to have a good future. What do I have to do to make that happen? And I put that work in. This moron, though, just thinks that all he's worried about is those minimum wage workers. So my point is, though, what about us? So we still have the same struggles. We still have to deal with high energy costs. We still have to deal with the high taxes, the high fuel costs, everything else. This doesn't benefit us at all. If anything, this makes our lives harder as well. And it makes you more diminished, Before, minimum wage was down here and you were making, let's say, $40 an hour. It was up here. But now it's here. $20 an hour minimum wage, now it's here. Now this job is not as lucrative as it used to be. Before it was like, wow, I'm making 4 times minimum wage. Now it's, oh, geez, I'm barely making double minimum wage. It just ruins everything. Like, how does this moron not know how to think at all? It's like every year the minimum wage keeps going up too, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. I remember when minimum wage was $12 an hour. I thought that was a lot. Then it crept up. Then it ended up like at 14. Then it was 15 not too long ago. Now it's at 16, whatever. And then come January, 17 something. This is insane. Hopefully, Connecticut smartens up and votes for Fazio. I know nothing about the guy, which is very bad. He should have a much better marketing for himself. But he's got to be much better than this moron. He's been in office for 8 years now and hasn't done anything positive. Seriously, I cannot think of one thing that I'm like, all right, well, he did that. Everything that I can think of is terrible. He's weak on Eversource. He's weak. He's terrible on taxes. He's terrible with his policies. He's an absolute moron. So Connecticut, let's go. Wake the F up and vote this piece of crap out.